Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to explore how Malaysia's maritime and port management system is structured, starting from the federal level and moving down to the port authorities, the federal ports they manage, and the laws that regulate their responsibilities. Understanding this hierarchy is essential because it influences every aspect of maritime operations, from vessel safety and port development to tariffs, licensing, and the movement of goods through our waters. At the highest level of governance is the Ministry of Transport Malaysia, often referred to simply as MOT. This ministry is responsible for shaping the overall direction of the maritime sector in the country. It sets national maritime policies, coordinates international commitments such as those under the International Maritime Organization, and ensures that the sector grows in a safe and orderly manner. While the ministry designs the policies and strategic direction, the task of enforcing maritime safety and technical regulations falls to the Marine Department Malaysia, also known as Jabatan Laut Malaysia. The Marine Department handles vessel registration, surveys and certification, navigation safety, marine accident investigations, and the enforcement of international conventions like SOLAS, MARPOL, and COLREGS. In short, the Ministry of Transport decides what the nation must achieve, while the Marine Department determines how maritime safety and compliance are maintained. MIMA, the Maritime Institute of Malaysia, serves as the government's maritime think tank, providing research, policy analysis, and strategic recommendations to support national maritime governance, ocean policy development, and Malaysia's overall maritime interests. Below the federal departments are several statutory bodies, and these are Malaysia's port authorities. Each one is created through an act of parliament, which grants it regulatory powers over its respective port. These authorities include bodies such as the Penang Port Commission, the Port Klang Authority, the Kemaman Port Authority, the Kuantan Port Authority, the Malacca Port Authority, the Johor Port Authority, the Labuan Port Authority, and the Bintulu Port Authority. Although each authority manages a different geographical area, they share a common purpose. They regulate port activities, ensure the safety of navigation within their waters, plan and develop port infrastructure, and supervise terminal operators. The major ports operations in Malaysia have been privatized to the following operators. Many ports in Malaysia follow what is known as the landlord port model, where the port authority acts as the regulator and landlord, while private companies operate the terminals, handle cargo, and carry out day-to-day port activities. These statutory bodies oversee what we refer to as federal ports, ports that fall directly under national administration instead of state governments. Federal ports are spread throughout peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia. On the west coast of peninsular Malaysia, we have major ports such as Penang Port and Port Klang, which includes both North Port and West Ports. Further south we find Malacca Tanjung Bruas Port, Johor Port, and the Port of Tanjung Pelepas, which is one of the world's busiest container transshipment hubs. On the east coast, significant federal ports include Kuantan Port and Kemaman Port. Meanwhile, in East Malaysia, two major federal ports are Bintulu Port, well known for its LNG operations, and Labuan Port, which serves a major role in regional logistics and offshore support activities. Each of these ports plays a unique role in Malaysia's maritime economy, but all operate under the overarching structure of federal oversight and statutory regulation. One important concept that all maritime students must understand is port limits. Port limits define the exact maritime area over which a port authority has jurisdiction. Within these limits, the authority controls vessel movement, approves anchorage, enforces pilotage requirements, oversees navigational safety, and exercises legal powers such as issuing licenses, imposing tariffs, and enforcing port regulations. Port limits are usually declared under the Port Authorities Act 1963, or the specific act that established each port authority. Port limits in Penang and Teluk Ua, Langkawi are regulated under the Penang Port Commission Act 1955. It's important to note that Langkawi's port limit operates under the regulatory framework enforced by the Malaysia Marine Department, which governs navigation and vessel activities through the Federation Port Rules 1953 and the Kedah Port Rules 1984. However, two gazetted anchorage areas in Teluk Ua, the General Purpose Anchorage and the Dangerous Goods Anchorage, are regulated in accordance with the Penang Port Commission Act 1955. Through a ministerial order enabled by Section 80A of the Act, the Penang Port Commission, PPC, was formally appointed as the Port Authority and Regulatory Authority for Teluk Ua. Prior to the formal establishment of this governance structure on 1 January 1999, Teluk Ua Jetty was temporarily managed by the Malaysia Marine Department. On the other side, port limits in Bintulu and Labuan are regulated under the Bintulu Port Authority Act 1981, which gives BPA the authority to oversee and control port area operations in both locations. This multi-layered structure ensures that Malaysia's ports operate in line with international standards while supporting the country's role as a major maritime trading nation. That's it for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.